Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I am back with another true crime video, and today we are going to be doing the story of Dr. Malekutu Johannes Mitape and his daughter. Now, if you're new to this channel, I try and do these videos often, so please do check out the playlist. I've done a couple already, and I will be doing more in the near future. With that said, and without wasting any more time, let's dive into today's video. Today's video takes us to Polokwane in the Limpopo province. Dr. Malekutu Mitape was born in the year 1967 to mother Mamiki Anna Mitape. He stayed with his mom, his grandmother, as well as his two younger brothers, Isaiah and Ishmael, who he was incredibly close to. Growing up in the 1970s, although the family lived with very little, especially because they were within the apartheid regime, education was emphasized to be the key to success, and Dr. Malekutu would keep this in mind throughout his journey of life. In high school, he poured himself into every opportunity. He played soccer and also joined the debate team. Although his school offered an English debate team, he further challenged himself to ensure a brighter future. He joined the Afrikaans debate team, which could have possibly opened more opportunities for him in that regime. He joined the Afrikaans debate team. He excelled to the point of becoming the chairperson of the Afrikaans debate team by the time he reached Standard 10, which is now better known as Grade 12 or Matric. After completing his Matric, he furthered his education and studied towards becoming a teacher. It was around this time in his early 20s when he first met Paulina. Paulina would go on to become his wife. At around the age of 28 years old, the couple then welcomed their first child, Mologadi Mehlape. And this was in the year 1995. A few years later, they welcomed their second and last born, a baby boy they named Sophania Caswell Mitape. At this point, they were a beautiful family of four living under one roof with the truest sense of a traditional family home. Dr. Mitape was a teacher, his wife was in business, and they were both working really hard to make sure that their children were exposed to an even better education than they had. People close to the family have shared that the family was a normal traditional family. Dr. Mitape loved his wife and kids dearly, and at any opportunity he would share that. Over the years, Dr. Mitape furthered his education more and more, allowing him the opportunity to go up the ranks. He moved from just being a teacher and then into being a principal, and everywhere he taught, the matric results were excellent. He continued studying to the point of him getting his doctorate, and with that he continued moving up the ladder to the point of which he was now overseeing 12 secondary schools and 8 primary schools in his district. Dr. Mitape loved education and wanted nothing less for his own children, and encouraged education because he saw what it could do for him. And when his children graduated, he was right by their side. Tragically, with no warnings or prior illness, his wife and mother of his children passed away at the tender age of 51 years old. The family was broken, and the children, especially the daughter, seemed to be having a very hard time coping with the mother's death, understandably. And what had made matters worse, a few months after the mother's passing, the daughter gave birth to her own child. During this time, she was longing for her mother and just desired her presence, especially because she was going through her own transition into motherhood, and this made an already difficult period even more difficult. This is when she decided to reach out to her mother's sister, her aunt, and she was like, you know what, I'm having a really hard time with my mother's death. I really want to know what the cause of all of this is. I really want to know what happened to her. And this is when the suggestion and the idea of her visiting a traditional healer happened. She then decided that, okay, she should go and consult with the traditional healer to find out more about her mother's passing. She then visited the traditional healer. The traditional healer was 33-year-old Shonofelo. When she got there, she then sought assistance from this traditional healer, sharing her story and saying that I really want to find out what happened to my mother. The traditional healer threw her bones and started interpreting them. She's sharing that according to what I see in the bones, your father, Dr. Mitape, is the reason your mother is no longer here. He is responsible for your mother's passing. He used muti, which is traditional medicine, to take your mother's life. Shocked and possibly conflicted, the daughter and the traditional healer then decided that Dr. Malekutu's life must be taken as well as a form of retaliation. Then the traditional healer started preparing her own muti now for the daughter to take home and start using on the father. This mixture of herbs would take his life, and in this way she would ultimately get some sort of justice for her mother. The daughter then went back home, and over the next couple of weeks she used used a muti on her father without his knowledge. And this muti just did not work, to a point that she felt like, okay, this thing is not working. I'm exhausted. I need a plan B. And this is when she went back to her aunt, her mother's sister, and told her about her predicament. She shared how she had went to the traditional healer. The traditional healer had then said A, B, and C, to the point of which she was then given muti to use on her father. And now it was just not working. They then both pondered and came up with plan B. Plan B was to find people who were willing to do the job. Maybe they could pretend like they were robbing him and then go on to take his life. These two people would be given 200,000 rands. The daughter knew that once her father passes away, his pensions and other policies would pay out, so she would have enough money to pay these people, considering she would just only have to share the money with her brother. The aunt was willing to assist with finding the people who would execute the job. They were able to find two men. These two men were ordinary citizens. One of them was a 49-year-old school principal, but the other one was a 42-year-old man. They found them and they briefed them on the job that needs to be done and how they were going to be paid 200,000 rands on completion. The plan was that on the evening of the 28th of December 2023, the daughter would leave the gate and the door to the main house open. This would then allow these two men to enter and ambush the doctor and therefore taking his life. The day of the plan came. It was the 28th of December 2023. Caswell, the younger brother, was in the house not suspecting a thing, and he would become a witness to what the sister had planned for their father. Two men entered the home carrying a 9mm. They went straight to his bedroom where he was and where the daughter had told them they would find her father, and they ambushed him. They fired at him and tragically he passed on the spot. In an effort to make it look like a robbery, they took all the cash that he had on him. They took his cell phone, they took the keys to his double cab Ford Ranger that was parked outside, and they left with it. When I was doing this case and just going through the details, I found it so similar to the Sibati family story that I did a couple of weeks ago on the channel. If you haven't watched it, I do recommend that you check it out. It is so similar in detail, especially as to what happened on the night of the passing. It's scary to think that people think in similar ways, and even if their thoughts are this sinister. And I hope these videos become a deterrence to say that don't do it. Don't do it. It's not going to end well. It's not worth it. If you don't like your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, and you feel like taking their lives, rather move away from them. If you take one thing from my video, and if you're a person with such sinister thoughts, don't do it. So moving on with the story, the brother was devastated, and the sister also tried and actually made a good job of acting as if she's heartbroken. Police came and started working on the scene. At first, it really looked like it was a robbery gone wrong. Even at the funeral, friends, family, colleagues all touched on how random crimes such as this in this country are on the rise, and the South African police services need to do better. And little did they know that the person who was responsible for all of this, the person who orchestrated all of this, was amongst the grieving in the crowd. After the burial, the police kept their cards to their chest, but were thoroughly investigating the case, which finally started coming together about a year later, and they found the Ford Ranger. This led to the arrest of the school principal as well as his accomplice. These two arrests led to the arrest of the daughter, who then opted to confess everything after realizing that the police had substantial evidence against her. This is when she then implicated the traditional healer as well as her aunt. And the traditional healer then also got arrested. The daughter was trialed alone, and her trial started ahead of all the other ones. And she was then found guilty of all the charges against her, amongst which is the charge of taking her father's life. She was then sentenced to life imprisonment, even though in mitigation she had begged, saying that she has a young daughter who's only 18 months old at the time of the trial. Even though the judge heard all of this, he did not budge and went ahead and gave her life. The trial for the two men and the traditional healer as well as the aunt are still pending. They are also facing the same charges, including the conspiracy to take the doctor's life and also the charge of actually going ahead and taking the father's life. That's where I'm going to end today's video. The case is still pending against the 4 others, so there is no judgment yet. The daughter has been sentenced to life, meaning she'll only be eligible for parole after serving 25 years. By the time she comes out, her daughter will be around 27 years old. That is where we're going to end today's video. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks. Bye.